What's up everybody, Derek here with the Bass Factory, and today I'm going to be going over my top 5 baits that I like to use whenever I'm out there fishing during the fall. You know, bass fishing can be so awesome during the fall time. It's one of those times of the year where you can catch a big one on almost any cast. The conditions are changing, the hunters are in the woods, the bait fish are on the move, and those fish are looking to feed because they know that the biological clocks are ticking and they gotta feed before that winter comes on. And one of my favorite ways to catch fish is with a Whopper Popper. I basically will take this thing and toss it around any kind of visible cover, down shorelines, grass edges, just anywhere near the shore is what I like to use with this. Those flats out in the middle, even whenever it's up there, you don't realize that you're on a big long flat, but it could be right out in the middle of the lake, and what you would think is not visible structure actually has a grass patch just under the surface, and those bass will be hanging anywhere near that structure. And I will cover lots of water because that's what those bass are doing. They're chasing those bait fish around right before they move into the backs of those pockets, and these will catch you fish. Anything that's a natural looking minnow lure, any kind of, just like a buzzbait will catch them. I like the Whopper Popper because it's natural looking and I can move it fast enough where they don't get a good look at it, and they will just hammer one of these. And all the way up until winter time, I've caught on buzzbaits and these Whopper Ploppers big bass in the backs of those pockets. So don't be afraid to throw a Whopper Plopper. My second lure is a walking bait. These things are awesome. You can catch so many fish on these, and some of the most explosive blow-ups can come on some of these. Whether it's a spook or a Sammy or just any kind of walking bait that is going to make that zigzag action back to you, you can throw these things literally a mile. You can cast them so far. And whenever those schoolies are out there right before those bait fish move into the backs of those pockets, they're going to be staging right out in the middle of those channels or in the middle of the lake, and those bass are going to be cruising looking for those schools of bait fish. And when you see them come to the surface and start popping, throw this right in the middle of them and you will almost every time catch a fish. These things are hard not to beat, especially during that time of the year. But don't be afraid to where you throw that Whopper Plopper to throw this as well, and just go down those grass edges or anything like that, because whenever they need just a little bit more subtle of an approach rather than that buzzing action of a Whopper Plopper, throw one of these in there and you will not be disappointed if one hits one of these, because it's going to make your day. Alright, my third lure is a chatterbait. These things are so awesome during the fall time. This one right here is a 3/8 ounce. I always like to put some kind of swim bait on the backside to get that little bit of extra vibration, but I also like to make the profile just a little bit larger. But what makes these things so great is whenever you're fishing on those flats or on those grass lines or anything, and you can find just a little bit more of that grass that's growing up, those bass will usually be hanging right near that grass. So if you can throw this thing out, let it go to the bottom and hit, and then just do a slow retrieve back and hang it up into that grass and actually rip it out, a lot of the time you'll get a reaction strike out of those fish that are hanging around there. And even just throwing off drop-offs or any of those flats where there's a drop, those fish could be hanging just around a point coming off of a flat. So anytime you want to try to catch some fish and you want to pull it through some grass and stay weedless, try one of these chatterbaits. You won't be disappointed. Alright, my fourth lure, not unlike the chatterbait, is an awesome lure for pulling through grass. And that is any kind of rattle trap, any kind of lipless crankbait. These things are so great whenever you've got that little bit of grass still left on the bottom. And even when you don't have completely all that grass that's left in there, you just got a small little bit of grass that's left on those flats. Throw this thing out there, let it go to the bottom, and just basically rip it up off the bottom. A lot of times those fish will come up and just hammer one of these on the drop whenever it's falling back down. But on just a straight retrieve, if you're just going along and you're letting it hit the bottom and you're feeling that grass, a lot of times, just like the chatterbait, if you'll rip it up out of that grass, you'll get that reaction strike. And sometimes those fish are focusing on bait fish or minnow type fish in those lakes or anywhere, they are going to be honing in on one of these, especially a chrome just like this, just trying to mimic any kind of minnow or bait fish. These will catch you a lot of fish, and these are some fun ones because they will just hang up, especially if you've got a good one. It'll just be dead weight. So definitely give a lipless crankbait a try. For my last lure, the bass are on the move, the bait fish are on the move, but that's not all that's on the move in these lakes. Their biological clocks are ticking, the days are getting shorter, football season's here, hunting's here. There's a lot going on this time of the year for everybody and everything in the lake. Everything's changing, and crawfish are on the move too. You don't want to underestimate a slow moving bait. If those fish are moving into the banks and they're hanging close to cover, or they're on those ledges just right around the corner from going into those flats, and they're hanging off that ledge, a lot of times those bass are going to be schooled up together. So if you want to get down there and you want to get them fired up, if they're not going for a bait fish and they're not wanting to chase or feed up on something that's moving fast by them, slow it down a little bit. Throw one of these out there. You can either get a football jig or a swimming jig, a 3/8 ounce or a 1/2 ounce. Usually a 3/8 ounce will be perfect because those fish are not really deep. You could find them from 5 feet up to 15 feet if they decide to move down just a little bit right before the bait fish move into those backs of those pockets. But definitely give one of these a shot, because you never know on any cast what size of bass you could catch on one of these, or even a whole school that you could get fired up. Next thing you know, you've caught 10 bass on 10 casts. So definitely give one of these jigs a try, and give all these lures a try. And I would love to hear what you guys, if you try any of these lures, let me know in the comments section. I'd love to hear what you catch or what you experience out there with any of these lures, if you found this information valuable. But